in this particular project for AWS Lambda. In the previous video, I had discussed about what is the overview of the entire project and how I have explained to you each and every step with the help of that particular diagram. So in this today's video, what we are going to be discussing is the function, the Lambda function. So now basically sitting at the very core of the AWS service called AWS Lambda is sitting the function or the program which is going to be executed when we trigger the AWS Lambda function. So what is going to be triggered is this particular code right here. So in this project, we are going to be discussing two things. First thing is how to execute a get function via the API gateway. And the second thing is how to execute the put function using the API gateway, which will trigger this AWS Lambda function. So since we are going to be doing two things, get and put, we are going to be creating two Lambda functions and creating two API gateways accordingly. So right now in this video, we are going to be discussing the first part, which is the get part. And the get part is going to be having this particular function in the Lambda. Let me go ahead and explain it to you what this particular function is going to do, and then we'll jump back to our AWS console and create the Lambda function on the web page. So starting off, what this particular Lambda function is doing is it is creating, I have created a dictionary called employees, and this employee dictionary has two entries. One is for Chirag, one is for Divya. The values for these particular names list down the age, the occupation, and the specialty. So the age for Chirag is 28. The occupation is that he is an engineer and he is under DevOps department. Okay. Similarly for Divya, it is 24. The profession in which she is a doctor, and she is in particular a physiotherapist. Moving ahead, what we are trying to fetch with this get function is the value for employees Chirag, and with this post function we are going to fetch the details for employees Divya. Let's just not focus on this particular function at this particular moment, because it is a part of the next part, which is the put function. Next is the function AWS Lambda handler. Now Lambda handler is the function which gets executed first whenever the flow of execution enters the AWS Lambda Python script. It is similar to main function, but over here it is Lambda handler, which is the first function which is called. Okay. There are events and there are contexts. We'll discuss this once we create the AWS Lambda function on AWS web page. So in this particular function, what we are doing is we are checking if the event is profession is equal to engineer. So if the event which is mentioned for the key profession and the value of that particular key is engineer, then we will call the get function, or else we'll call the post function. Since we are only discussing a get function at this moment, we are going to be only calling get function, and we are going to hard code this particular event in our events cases. Once again I'll discuss this events when we are on the web page. So this is what the entire function looks like, the program looks like. Expected output is this particular thing, 28 engineer and DevOps, and the DevOps school. Yeah, that is what it is. And if we execute this, one second. So what we are expecting is this, 28 engineer and DevOps. I don't know if you are able to see. Let me. Okay, it is not a. This is what it is. Hope you are able to see now. So 28 engineer and DevOps. This is what you are going to be expecting when we click the AWS API gateway in our browser, and this is what we are going to be expecting as the output.